Hola todos, how we doing? Welcome to Chapter 1 of our text this semester. And the goal of Chapter 1 is to provide a nice overview of sales management and where it has come from and where we're heading this semester. Some of the big themes that have changed is, as I alluded to in our first class, the shift from transactional one-time selling to a philosophy of customer relationship management, meaning to hold on to our existing customers more. Existing customers are more profitable. So you'll see a lot of slides and content this semester talking about paying attention to customer needs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And because we're doing that and our orientation is more around customers, then we have to change the agenda from the sales management perspectives, and hopefully this all creates some kind of opportunities. So sales management in the 21st century, and I'll put these slides up, I'll put this raw deck up on Blackboard as well. Let me make a note. We are now, sales management in the 21st century is now focusing on long-term relationships with customers and moving away from one-time transactions. These sales organizations need to be more adaptable to customer behaviors, customer changes, to customer client. This is B2B. You can use those words interchangeably, right? We have to create fewer barriers within the organization to get things done for these potential customers. We have to change our leadership management style, because in the past we used to have a more top-down approach, and now we have to have a little bit more of a bottom-up approach. We need to talk about technology, and of course we incorporate all this stuff into a performance model. So, key themes that we're going to look at throughout this chapter and throughout the book. Broadly speaking, we're going to talk about innovation, we're going to talk about technology, leadership, the globalization of our customers, and ethics. So when we talk about innovation, we're particularly talking about this moving away from the old school transaction selling, because this is what sales organizations really were up through, definitely through the 80s, and probably in the mid-1990s is when it started to fall apart. Transaction selling is, each sale was an independent transaction. There was no long-term relationships. There was no how you doing, how can I help you for the next? No. Relationship selling, you have less customers overall. You're working with a smaller set of customers, but you're providing much more detailed solutions to these customers. You're helping them with the sales for today, but you're also helping them plan for tomorrow. I like to use the word consultant or problem solver, but that's what good salespeople are. When we talk about technologies, well, we have all kinds of wonderful technologies, particularly with mobile technologies. We have certainly lots of connected spheres out there we have with our web. Electronic data interchange is when a corporation like Procter & Gamble and a corporation like Walmart, they literally can set up protocols that says when supplies get at this level, we're automatically going to order. And this kind of software and also ECR kinds of software is a way for those large transactional things to set up protocols so salespeople are not wasting time, their own time, but also their clients' time making an order. It's all electronic. Finally, we have software to help manage these relationships, customer relationship management software. I usually talk about customer relationships in terms of a philosophy. It just so happens that this philosophy of working, you need certain things to help you maintain relationships, like databases or very, very good programs from like Salesforce.com that help you manage all these relationships that you have and keep detailed records. When we talk about leadership, sales organizations and many organizations were very top down. Managing was about control. Managing was about being a supervisor, a boss, or telling people what to do. Very directional oriented. Where leading, mentoring in a C, customer relationship management kind of world, this is probably a better leadership metaphor. There's much more time spent on communicating. The manager is more of a coach, a teacher, a cheerleader. You empower people to make decisions out in the field because they're the ones that are doing these relationships with customers. A very good example of this is servant leadership. I mean, it sounds weird to use the word servant and leadership in the same sentence, but I do not think they're an oxymoron. The leader serves the organization, and the leader must, deal with the problems or be supportive in any way he or she can. We don't just tell subordinates what to do. We let the subordinates lead, and we support them in the way they need support. Servant leadership. Love the model. Oh, there we go. Globally, this one's pretty easy. We see that sales are going all over the world. Not only do we have sales and customers and clients all over the world, we tend to have manufacturing and sourcing of supplies all over the world. This little iPhone device that we carry around has 169 components to it. Only 12 are sourced from inside the United States. In order to get all those manufactured wherever they're manufactured at this given time, some are in Taiwan, some are mostly in China. All those parts and all those different companies that supply everything to the iPhone need to be in the same place. Innovation. It's kind of weird when we talk about sales management that we're talking about innovation, but really it's innovation with regards to culture and innovation with regards to helping customers, moving away from that transaction. And yes, we have ethics. All firms have their guidelines. When I think about ethics, it's very easy to talk about something whether it's legal or illegal. That's black and white. But ethics, something that is ethical and unethical, you could be unethical but still be legal. It's like kind of the way I think about it that much. The remaining half of the chapter talks about the sales management process. And this process, we're going to go through it really quick now in about 14 slides. But we're really going to spend the majority of the semester honing in on each component of this model. So the overall model, and maybe it's a good idea to print this thing out and have a copy of it with you so when we're going through the chapters this makes sense. There's a lot of boxes, there's a lot of arrows. We have the environment, internal and external. We have our strategy, deciding on what we do. Within the sales management area, we have account management policy, Salesforce organization, planning, deployment, supervision, training, motivation of the sales force, which we look into personality characteristics, performance. We have role perceptions. We're probably going to spend a good chunk of a chapter in the future about that. All of this eventually leads to performance. And then finally we have control. And the control comes all the way back for us to make adjustments here. The remaining part of this chapter, though, we're primarily going to look at these internal and external environmental impacts, environmental aspects of the model. Because depending on what's happening with your environment, they could constrain what you would like to take care of. Or, depending on what's happening with a competitor, you might have to react. So there's a lot of environmental scanning, so to speak. For those of us who were tortured by me last semester, this falls straight into my market orientation language, because market-oriented firms are consistently externally oriented. They're always looking at their environment. So when we look at the external environment, we have political, legal, technological, socio-cultural, natural resources, economic. All these impact the firm, which then impacts the sales management. And a lot of these are self-explanatory, so even though there's a slide for each one of these, I'm not going to hammer this here. But when we're talking about economic, currency is a very big deal. For, banking standards are a very big deal. Taxes could be a very big deal. How economies are doing around the world. Like right now, Europe's in very bad shape, or at least improving, but still, how much sales forecasting can you really get out of Europe this year? Political legal, self-explanatory. Antitrust falls into that. Technological environment. We are seeing more and more use of software to help salespeople in the field. From something as simple as the ERC, which is, salespeople being able to order stuff out into the field, but also being able to check inventories, to be able to log all their expenses, to be able to do all their reporting to their sales manager without having to do it in paper, carbon copy, or making calls in. Socioculture are a very big deal. I mean, not only when we talk about the socioculture within our customers that we have to deal with, but really the book spends a lot of times talking about the social and cultural environment within the firm. Particularly whether, ethically speaking, where is that line of ethical and non-ethical, but still legal? Natural, self-explanatory. When we talk about the internal environment, we have goals, objectives, human resources that manages this, financial resources, supply chain management, getting all those parts in places over there, services, after-sales service, and then we have R&D. Again, a lot of these are self-explanatory. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time here. But good firms have a well-defined goal and objective, and it's part of their culture, and they don't meander and wander around. These are firms with very strong corporate cultures. Usually human resources in the sales side of it are usually very much involved with training, bringing speakers in to help with software training or idea training or skills training, and that's how human resources kind of involved. Financial resources, salespeople like to get paid. Salespeople like to be able to take care of their clients. Salespeople like to be able to go to a top customer and perhaps put on some kind of a dog and pony show at their warehouse to attract customers of that warehouse so that they could come in and see how awesome of a firm this is. Expense budget kind of stuff. Supply chain management is a very big deal, particularly for firms that have manufacturing. There's transportation costs, and when you think about supply chain management, you need to think about this is all costs to the firm. The overall goal is to increase efficiency and decrease costs. Service capabilities for many firms, if we're developing these long-term relationships with customers, they tend to have a very strong after-sales service component to them. If they have a strong after-sales component to them, it's harder for customers to switch regardless of price because you're taking care of their customers and you're taking care of them in a way that other firms not. It increases switching costs. It's actually a very good thing. And finally, we have R&D and technological capabilities. Hopefully, we have R&D on the manufacturing side. Hopefully, we have increased technological capabilities for salespeople to be able to do video conferencing if they can't fly to all their customers all the time. And all this technological capabilities hopefully will help the salesperson in some way, shape, or form. Well, we're in the middle of a snowstorm right now. I'm glad I'm not driving up and down the New Jersey Turnpike. I'm happy to record all these videos for you guys. If there are any questions with any of this, you shoot me an email, and I look forward to answering your questions in the next video. Thanks.